This video is for business leaders who want the best for themselves and their employees by maximizing the work culture through neurocognitive benefits of healthy eating and exercise. Fitness and healthy eating strategies fit together like yin and yang. I won't really separate them in this video or really even talk about fitness as such, but they're kind of inseparable if you want sort of the best out of your health and your fitness, especially since challenging yourself with exercise bridges really well with the previous episode, which was Crush It Club 192, Be Ambitious by Habit. I will leave a link there and or in the description. I don't think anybody really needs to be convinced anymore that healthy and moderate eating is good for you. So I'll focus on individual strategies of how not to overeat. That is, strategies to be satiated effectively without being tempted by overeating, which is an evolutionary leftover that we all contain. You're not special if you say you struggle with your willpower for food, because according to Roy Baumeister and John Tierney in their book that I'm actually listening to right now called Willpower, that's what the data says. It's probably the thing that most people struggle with. And if you think I don't struggle with it because I'm leaner than you, then you just need to own your own willpower in the same way I have. It's not easy, but it is doable. What this is important for actually is this isn't about, oh, what does health and fitness have to do with business? It has everything to do with business in that not only is being moderate and eating healthily help your individual health, but it actually helps the health of your business too, especially because all of the negative effects that being overweight and obesity has, not only on your neurocognitive capacity and ability, but on your health, the cost of healthcare in your company, repetitive stress injuries in people's knees. The list just goes on, and I have a link to an article that refers specifically to the financial implications of obesity in the workplace. I'll leave you to that if you want to look at it. But let's start with why our evolutionary default is to overeat. It's actually really simple. Before, everyone lived just minutes away from a fast food restaurant and a convenience store, of which I both live about 2 minutes away from myself. As recently as a few decades to no more than a few centuries ago, starvation was a real threat to the survival of our ancestors. Back then, when that was a concern, eating as much as possible every time there was food in front of you was an adaptive strategy that was a good survival behavior. Since they survived and had babies, who had babies, that's us, we also inherited these same not so healthy traits for a world full of abundance, energy, and safety like no other generations in history have ever really seen. Why this is a concern and why you should be worried about this both for yourself and your employees is because the CDC says the obesity prevalence as of 2017 through March 2020, as measured by them, is 41.9%. And MedPage says that over 73% of US adults are overweight or obese. The obesity rate is up by half since last measured in 1999 through 2000 by NHANES data. Indicates that nearly 10%, I believe it's 9.4% of US adults are currently severely obese, which immediately speaks to a lot of health problems that most of you are well aware of because somebody in your family is almost certainly obese according to the statistics. That's both alarming and extremely costly for business, the US medical system, but most importantly, the people whose health and loved ones are directly affected by it. And yet the vast majority of this public health pandemic is entirely preventable by most people and honestly, a choice. You may not like to hear that, but that's what the data says. Somewhere between 94 and 99% of people in the world have a normal metabolism. Though lots of people like to use an excuse or talk about metabolic syndrome, the truth and the scientific measure, if you don't believe me, I encourage you to go get an actual metabolic test done. The vast majority of people in the world are within the normal metabolic range, which means their weight is a combination of the amount they eat, what they eat, and how much they exercise, period. There's nothing, that's not a debate. And you can check. You can talk about all sorts of different diets, but all comes down to bullshit. Even by the glycemic index experts, the best predictor of weight gain and weight loss is caloric intake. Period. Some ways to be satisfied or satiated. Follow the next techniques that I'm going to talk about that are going to make up the remainder of this video, and that is eating a mostly plant-based whole food diet. I'll put links to where this comes from and why that is. But if you think meat is the only way to be full, you're talking to somebody who used to eat about 4 kilos a month or more of chicken breasts that I bought at Costco. I've eaten more than my fair share of meat. I used to eat an average 200 grams of protein in the form of chicken breasts and similar things every day. If you eat something like brown rice and soybeans or a hearty vegan stew, you'll realize that you can get plenty of filling food that is extremely healthy for you. Because I am now mostly, but not entirely vegan, so I'm speaking from experience. Or my breakfast, which usually consists of cocoa, either with chickpeas, soybeans, or plain cocoa in oats with a sugar alcohol called erythritol, which is virtually calorie-free, very low calorie. And if you're worried about that, even though it's naturally occurring, that the process may not be natural, that they extract it, that's fine. You could use something like honey or maple syrup. I actually encourage you to use sweet red beans, which in Japan are known as amayazuki, which is used in many Japanese sweets. Doesn't have any sugar in it. It's just the natural sweetness of that particular legume, which is very, very good for your health and low calorie. Go figure. So the other thing you can do, and this is a simple one that everybody can practice, and that is to pause for 20 minutes after you've eaten to 80% full, which, as you might notice, is the title of this video. And there's reference behind that. There's something here in Japan called hachibume or harahachibu. And people repeat this to each other all the time. And it's essentially eat until you're 80% full and stop. Eat until you're 80% full, stop for 20 minutes. If you're still hungry, eat some more. Also, if that doesn't work or you're concerned that it won't work, eat till you're 80% full, drink 2 cups of water, which you could actually drink before and or during eating. Wait 20 minutes and then repeat the process that I just described. Another way you can do it, and this is to keep mindfulness of what you're consuming, is to take photos of everything. It gives you a mindful, objective measure of what you're eating. Now, there's some research that indicates that people with practice can become very accurate at estimating their calories. But after 40 years of doing this kind of stuff for myself, I say bullshit. Take the photos, see it for yourself. It's far more reliable. So that's it for Eat to 80% Full. If you want any help applying this or anything else in terms of the evolutionary defaults regarding taking what you do well or taking what you do best and doing it even better through neuro-cognitive leadership and design methodologies, which are my own, you can reach out to me at tim@crushitclub.com. This has been Crush It Club 193, Eat to 80% Full. My name is Tim B. Green. Bye for now.